I'm going to go ahead and call the Butler Community College Board of Trustees regular meeting to order here at the Taggart Boardroom on 4:30 Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God.
with liberty and justice for all.
I was trying to keep up. Very worth it.
So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda if there's not any changes.
I have one change. I move that item 9A, the culinary lease, be moved to section 8 of board discussion item.
I would second.
It's been moved and seconded to move item 8A, correct?
No, 9A, section 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got chicken scratches over here. 9A, sorry about that. 9A to discussion item from the board action item. Is there any discussion?
I just don't feel I had enough information. I'd like to talk about it this week and we can maybe vote on it next time.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions at all?
I read that through that too. Has anyone else read any of that?
Well, Julie, we're determining whether we're going to discuss it
Right.
as a
You said
discussion
whether or not
item.
we're gonna discuss
So we'll
it.
discuss it as an action item as well. Is there,
If it's voted for. Okay.
if there's no other discussion?
It's my understanding there's some timing constraints at play here.
Yes.
that
That's what we
would
wanna keep-
counsel in favor of making a decision tonight as
Yes,
opposed
which
to
I
waiting
think-
a month.
Tom
What
will
is the
address.
reason? Anybody-
What's that?
Anybody know why there's a pressure to do it tonight?
Tom will go through that later during his presentation, but the goal is to be operational by August. And the foundation is, we'll talk about that and discuss it when it's on the agenda item. Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment.
Trustee Good,
No.
Trustee Law,
No.
Trustee Rhodes,
No,
Trustee Lechtenberg,
No.
Trustee Winslow,
Yes.
Trustee Howell,
No.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
The amendment fails. And so I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
so moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. You can go ahead and call the roll.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
Trustee Law,
Yes.
Trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
Trustee Lechtenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
No.
Trustee Howell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
No.
Approval of the agenda passes. And so we move on to recognitions.
I have a special recognition tonight for Joe Lebrand is here. And Joe, I hope you don't care if I sit and speak in front of the microphone, but we want you on camera, okay? So I'm really happy to announce that Joe is receiving a Distinguished Service to Agriculture Award that's been presented by the Butler County Farm Bureau. Joe has 40 years of ag experience, grew up on a diversified crop, cow-calf, and swine operation near St. Francis, and a family operation that totals more than 130 years. He's nominated for his work in ag education for all ages from 4-H to collegiate, consumer to producer. Joe served at the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville for 5 years, where he managed the swine research farm. He spent 24 years as a judge for swine shows in 5 states. He's worked for the Kansas State Research and Extension for 12 years. You get the picture here? He's been a 4-H representative, Kansas State Swine Show for 10 years. While he was the extension agent in Grant County, he helped double the 4-H program there, the enrollment, and chartered 2 new clubs and started a foundation, Grant County 4-H, all within 5 years. He currently serves on the Butler County Extension Board, serves Butler County as the superintendent of the 4-H Fair for livestock judging and swine. He's been, to our benefit and our students' benefit, the ag department head for the past 4 years and an assistant professor of agriculture for 7. He was the first chapter advisor to Butler Community College Collegiate Farm Bureau chapter since its inception 7 years ago. and is really the driving factor for the success and growth of the chapter. He's a Butler alum, was in the ag program in the 92 to 94, and went on to finish his degree at K-State. He was part of the 1995 national champion judging team at Kansas State University. And you can tell from his career and his expertise and his commitment that he's all about ag. He's all about youth education, starting students young and supporting them in all ways. And so we're really proud of you, Joe, and appreciate you. And thank you for all you do in the county and surrounding area, but especially work with in the ag department. So thank you for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Say a few things.
I'll say one thing quick. The greatest, as an instructor, week and a half ago, I was at a former student's wedding, and there's a lot of other former students there. One of them recently graduated from K-State. He's working at a embryo transfer company, works with cattle, embryo transfer near Manhattan. And we were visiting quite a while, and he just goes, Joe, he said, I really appreciated your, and this isn't about me, this is about Butler, but appreciate the job you did teaching. And I like Butler because you could tell, I'll make it short. Teachers can get long-winded, I'll just say that. But he said you could tell the teachers cared. You go to a four-year institution, they're larger classes, they're not always there for that purpose. And I think that's one of the things that makes us unique is that we do care, we have relationships with students, and we're making a difference in their life. And he just enjoyed the hands-on work that we get to do here because we have small classes. And that was a really good thing just a week and a half ago, and makes me even more proud to receive this award. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
again. And then we also want to say happy birthday to Trustee Shelby Smith. Had a
Yeah.
birthday
Happy
last
birthday.
week, I think, right?
Happy birthday, Shelby.
Happy birthday.
I wanted to add one other recognition, and I think I've got this right, but somebody may need to correct me. Dr. Kroll was one of the executives of the year for the Wichita Business Journal, I believe. Is that accurate?
One of the honorees.
Okay,
Yeah. this
okay.
year. Yeah.
So congratulations to you.
Well, thank you very much.
We will move on to the public comment section. I know we've got at least one via Zoom, which we will do first. I want to read through the public comment disclosure, and then also anybody that's here that wishes to do that. Heather has some cards that you need to complete in order to be able to do that public comment. So if you're here for public comment and want to complete those cards for us, Bradley is.
And you want to go to the microphone?
Yep, if you can come to the podium, that way you have a microphone in front of you. So just a quick note on the public comment. The general public is welcome to address the Board of Trustees under the public comment section of the regular board meeting agenda. Personnel issues are prohibited from public comment. The board chairperson will ask visitors wishing to make brief comments to identify themselves and the topic they are wishing to address. If several members of one group or organization wish to speak to the board concerning the same item, the board chairperson may ask the group to identify a single spokesperson. Just a reminder that there can be no discussion of college personnel. A time limit of 5 minutes has been set for each recognized member or spokesperson of the audience to speak to the board. Heather will let you know if you're getting close to that 5 minute, usually at the 4 minute mark, we'll make you aware so you can wrap up your comments. The board will take no action during the public comment period of the board meetings. However, it will take the matter under deliberation and if appropriate, direct the president to follow up with a written response or report at the next regular board meeting. With that, anybody that wishes to make a comment, if they could grab a card, and then Heather, if we can.
Brad is actually here.
Oh, he is.
So
Okay.
he's on Zoom, so-
Okay.
But he has filled up.
Yep, we got the
so-
card. I'm going to give that to Heather. Bradley, if you want to go ahead to the podium there and start us off. Bradley,
And why don't you have them each introduce themselves from the microphone, and that'll help too.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brad Beachy. I've been an English teacher here at the college for almost 30 years. I wanted to talk about impasse because I have a little historical background that I think I can bring to bear. One of the items is, you know, I don't mind. I don't like this. Oh, that's right. We have rules against smoking here, don't we? It's bad for me and it's bad for you. And that's actually the whole idea behind MGB, believe it or not. If something is bad for me and bad for you, we shouldn't do it. We should think about our mutual goals, our mutual gains, and do what's good for me and good for you. In fact, the whole idea behind mutual gains is that we on the faculty side are supposed to work just as hard and with just as much zeal and enthusiasm for the administration's position as the administration is supposed to work for our position. Well, one of the things that once the administration has taken us to impasse over is the part-time versus full-time. Right now, we have a proviso in the master agreement that says if we need to reduce staff, a reduction in force, it will come from the part-timers before the full-timers. And that happened when I was on the negotiation team. And not only was I on the negotiation team, so was Vice President Williams, and so was Vice President Rinkenbaugh, and so was Lori Winningham. She was a dean back then, former vice president. We were all on the negotiating team, and we thought that was a good idea because enrollment was going up. We didn't want to hire full-timers that might have to be let go if enrollment came back down. So we decided it would be a good idea to write this in. This would help the administration have the flexibility to hire as enrollments went up, and it would give us a reassurance that we wouldn't be replaced by part-timers. Well, we all thought that was a pretty good idea. And for 20 years, everybody has thought it's a good idea. The boards keep signing off on it. This board signed off on it the last time you ratified the contract, the master agreement. So we thought it was a good idea then. We think it's, in fact, it turned out to be a better idea than I thought at the time, because I think you can use it as a recruiting tool. You can say, okay, our salaries aren't princely, but you get something that a lot of other places don't have. You have job security, right? It also helps us retain people. You know, they don't have to keep their ear to the ground looking for other jobs. They don't have to keep their resumes current. They can be reasonably assured that if they do a satisfactory job, they'll be hired again. And you look at the number of people who voluntarily leave Butler among the professional employees, it's very low. It's extremely low. The staff have quite a bit of turnover. They don't have job security. They're at-will employees. We do. Our turnover is very low. So guess what? You give people job security and you get job security in return. And guess how much it costs, folks? You're going to love this. It costs you zero. It costs you not one penny, not one dime. Now, if I were you on the board, I'd be saying, well done, good and faithful servant, right? But this seems to be something that we have to be driven to impasse over. You know, I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I won't light up this cigarette because it's bad for you and it's bad for me. And I'm hoping that you won't light up the contract over this, because that would be bad for me and bad for you.
Thank you, Bradley. Was there any other public comment this evening? Okay. If not, we will go ahead and move on to Student Government Association report.
All right. Good evening. I'm Guadalupe Torres. Hello, I'm Sophia Dawson, and we are here to give our September and October report. SGA has recently sponsored a soccer game versus Coffeyville on September 22nd with free popcorn. We have also sponsored soccer versus Garden City with free soda on September 29th. We have celebrated and thanked Butler custodial workers with a card and a sweet treat as part of Custodian Appreciation Day on October 1st. And we have represented Butler Community College at the El Dorado High School Homecoming Parade on October 1st. Next week, we will also be starting homecoming events that will lead into parent weekend and also the football home game. We have our flyers here. Would you like to pass them out?
I have 5 copies.
If you wanna just pass them just to the 5 trustees, and then we can make copies for other people too, if you wanna do that.
Our schedule for homecoming will start Tuesday with Loteria, which is Mexican bingo. That's hosted by Halo. Then we move on to Wednesday, October 20th, with Powder Puff football sponsored by BSA. We then move on to Thursday, which is the homecoming bash that has inflatables, games hosted here by the Welcome Center. Then we move on to Friday, 22nd, with our late night donuts for Residence Life. That's also sponsored with SGA. And then finally, Saturday, we have the parent and family weekend and the football game. All right, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And is Lisa available for the operational staff report? Lisa, you're up.
Hi, good evening. I can't believe it's October already. Thanksgiving is literally right around the corner. And speaking of Thanksgiving, I'm excited to announce that our annual Thanksgiving pie sale fundraiser is back. Ops staff will be selling and baking pies for the Thanksgiving season this year. We will begin taking orders for cherry, apple, pumpkin, and pecan pies beginning in early November and continuing for a few weeks before preparing them for your family gatherings. Please reach out to me or any one of our ops staff members to place an order and let us bake for you. Next operational staff meeting is this Thursday, October 14th.
I have a question.
Lisa, I think Julie's got a question for you.
Sure, go ahead.
What is the fundraiser for? Is it just a general fundraiser?
Perfect. So all of our funds from our fundraisers help support our ops staff welcome back tables. They go toward the book scholarship fund. We do donate to families in need at Christmas, also other charitable opportunities throughout the year.
Was there anything else, Lisa?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, any other questions for Lisa?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. And Dr. Sater, the employee or professional employees report.
Good evening. As always, I come before you to represent the full-time professional advisors and faculty, the people who directly serve our students in their efforts to matriculate and achieve their goals. These are the people who remain without a contract, without that raise that you appropriately approved for all other full-time employees at the college, including all of the administrative executives you see tonight. Let that sink in for a moment. The highest paid executives ensconced in their offices, who have little to do with the vast majority of our students, are enjoying a nice increase to their six-figure salaries. Meanwhile, the professionals who spend the most time with our students performing the fundamental mission of the college continue with last year's contract, no raise, and no acknowledgement of our central role in successfully holding classes during a pandemic. How did we get here? Brad did a pretty good job of telling you about the nature of our MGB negotiations, where both sides work together for win-win solutions to the issues that we bring to the table. But after a summer of dialogue and progress, albeit in fits and starts, last month, your negotiators decided to declare a unilateral impasse. Considering their approach to negotiating, it is not surprising that we are once again at impasse. As is typical often around here, your negotiating team's strategy seems to be that of ultimatum, dissembling, rejection, and coercion. They focused on 3 issues in particular this time. First, they continue to insist that we change the reduction in force language to allow full-time faculty to be laid off before part-time, virtually eliminating our job protection. No professional association would ever give this away. Second, they demand that we allow for some new hires to be paid more than others of equal education and experience, thus destroying the hiring schedule and placing faculty pay under one person, the Associate Vice President of Human Resources. Last, they require that we remove some early retirement benefits that employees have earned and are counting on, without showing any real benefit to the college. What justification do your negotiators give for their demands? Time and again, they've demonstrated that they are not moved by reason nor any kind of sympathy for the employees. This time in particular, they have resorted to a strategy of blame the board. Rather than showing the wisdom or benefits of their demands, they simply shrug and tell us that you mean old board members are the problem. It's quite a strategy. They get to demand unreasonable issues without justification, while being the good guys, since they claim they are forced by you, the evil board of trustees, to pursue these demands. I am skeptical of these claims, so I ask you, Mary Martha, are you one who will not approve a contract without these stipulations? Doug, what about you? Forrest, where are you on that? Lance?
Terry, these negotiations take place between you guys and the administrative team to accomplish these things,
Yes.
not directly to the board. So I would ask
And
that
we
you don't bring
appreciate
it to
that.
the board and ask us to vote via walking around the room like that. If you have comments, make them. If board members have questions, they'll ask them.
Very good. Sure.
I'm just curious. Does that board that you meet with, or whoever it is, the committee that you meet with for negotiations, is there a trustee that is a non-participating member of that committee? Just not somebody that necessarily participates, but a trustee or board member that listens?
You choose your own negotiators, of course. And to my knowledge, in all the years that I've been doing these negotiations, no trustee has ever sat in on the negotiations.
Please speak into the microphones.
Yes, is it turned on? Yeah.
It's green.
Yes.
Mary Martha, did you hear that okay?
I did. I cannot hear Julie.
Her question was, I think, and Julie, correct me if I incorrectly say this, but was basically if any trustee sits in and listens or is part of those contract negotiations.
No, not a part of, just a participant as far as just
Yep.
a participant, not an active one, but just someone there to observe, an observer per se.
And Terry's response, if you didn't hear that, was that during his time, he is not aware that there's been any trustee present.
Thank you.
Terry, if you want to go ahead with your comments.
In this kind of environment, we must look to you to help your to help your negotiators from a path that can lead to only more enmity and frustration. Please, for the sake of our college, for the sake of our students, for the sake of our communities, Let's all work to move past this. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Did anybody have any questions at all for Terry to speak of?
Why isn't there a, just asking, don't know, don't care if it's ever been done before, but why isn't there a non-participating observer that's a trustee?
They're open meetings. Anybody can be there.
Really? Well,
It's an open meeting.
okay, when are they?
Faculty can be there.
When are they?
Well, we're getting ready to schedule one more meeting with the mediator, but we haven't set that date yet.
Can you put me on the list of non-participating
I will let
observers?
all the trustees know, and we'll find out from the mediator if he wants participants in the room.
No, I don't want to participate. just
I
wanna
mean,
observe.
I'm sorry, observe. I'll find out from I'll find out from him what his protocol is for that.
You did say they were public, right?
The ones that we've had prior, yeah, those are, but this is another step, and I'm not sure how he wants to run that meeting, but we'll find out.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We'll go ahead and move on to the Board Finance Committee, and I don't believe there was a meeting today, correct? So we will skip over that. Foundation Board Report, Forrest, anything
No, nothing to report. We'll get some information
from Tom here? after
from
this?
Tom
Yep.
on the lease proposal, but nothing else.
Okay. Dr. Kroll, your president's report.
From Teresa Eastman, who's our Director of Disability Services, she wanted me to share this information with you, so I'm happy to do that. October is Disability Awareness Month. Did you know that 61 million adults ages 18 to 44 have disabilities? Did you know that about 20% of the 7.2 million students enrolled at a community college report having a disability? Butler Community College is committed to civil rights of disabled individuals through its adherence to Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and the Amendment Act of 2008. The Office of Disability Services provides accommodations for almost 250 students who are represented at each of our campus locations and most academic programs. Former students with disabilities include a blind attorney with the United States Air Force, a hearing impaired nurse, and several pro athletes. The Office of Disability Services also provide accommodations for stakeholders at all campus sponsored events, as well as assist in maintaining adherence to design guidelines for our facilities. We must continue to recognize that all individuals matter and that ability should be recognized before disability. And so thank you to Teresa for providing that information for us and for helping us be aware that October is Disability Awareness Month. I want to let you know that the Andover Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring an Andover Candidate Forum in the Kansa Room in our 5000 building on October 20th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. We'll include city commission candidates, school board and college board candidates. My understanding is that the format will be one where candidates will have about 5 to 7 minutes to share their platforms and their ideas. I don't know that there will be questions and answers that will be put forth, but
Tell me when and where this is.
October 20th, 5 to 6:30 p.m. in our Kansa room in the 5000 building. You have, we decided last month that we would provide an updated report for you of the Cora requests, and you have that at your table for this month. And then also wanted to let you know that in working with John Rupp, who's working with us on the 9100 building, the sealed bid due date, the first step will be December 3rd, 2021. That's when they could fit that into their schedule. So as I know more, I'll keep you updated on that. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
We will move on to the Education Facilities Report. Jim or Doug, anything to?
We meet tomorrow morning.
Yep.
Okay. There's no monitoring reports this evening, so we will move on to board strategic discussion, the City of Andover sales tax proposal, and I believe Jennifer McCausland is on Zoom. Is that?
I sent her a text message and told her we were getting close. So.
I missed something. She's Andover,
City administrator.
right? And we're not involved in that Andover city tax, are we?
Andover residents
The s-
are,
The
and
sales.
because we represent, because we have employees and we're part of the Andover, they're just trying to get out among all the taxing entities and share this information. It doesn't impact the folks that live in El Dorado or wherever, but the folks that live in the Andover area are going to have it on their ballot. So I see
Just
Mike
informational.
Warrington on,
Yeah.
maybe. So Jenny, of course, is the city administrator in Andover. Mike Warrington is city councilman, and Mike is our liaison from the Andover City Commission to the College Board. And so we'll turn it over to you folks to share a little bit about the Andover sales tax proposal. And Jenny and Mike, I provided the printout, the copy of the kind of the infographic that you had handed to me. That's in front of each of the trustees as well. Mike, are you there? If so, you're muted. There we go. There we go.
Dr. Kroll, thank you for allowing us to sit in with the meeting via Zoom tonight. I think Jenny is going to be jumping on here in any second, and I'm going to let her do most of the talking. But I do appreciate you allowing us to jump in this, and we'll be able to answer any questions that you have. But if you wouldn't mind, just one moment, Jenny will jump in just a second.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, Mike, this is Shelby Smith. I'll go ahead and ask you a question and kill this dead time instead of asking it later. Are you just sharing this sales tax with us because we're a taxing entity in the county? We set property taxes and you're just keeping us informed, or what's the purpose of informing us tonight of a sales tax?
Yeah, so we're just going to let you know what is going on since you are part of the district, and the sales tax would be on anything that goes on in the count in the city limits. And obviously the sales tax is, for our new proposed fire station and our 13th Street Park, which is on the north side of town. So this would be we're estimating that it would be about a 6.5 year time frame, even though it says 10 years. In the past that when we have done this with our library and our city hall, we've always got it paid off within about a 6-year period. Oh, and Jenny just jumped on, so I'm gonna let Jenny go ahead and do a presentation on that.
Sure. And I think I just heard something about the sales tax being 10 years, and it is proposed to be 8 years. So I do want to clarify that if there was a question, no longer than 8 years. So this sales tax will be on the November 2nd ballot. It is something that only those who are registered voters in the city of Andover will be able to vote on. But we felt like with Butler Community College having a presence in our city, you would want to know what exactly the plans were and what this request was for. Mr. Warrington, thank you for starting that for me. Were you able to talk to them about the projects this will cover?
I briefly did, but you probably have a better, a longer presentation on that than I just did.
Okay. You should have in your packets access to our fact sheet. We have done a website that is www.andoverks.com/family future forward sales tax. So anyone viewing the meeting may want to check that out as well. The two primary areas the sales tax will cover is a second fire station south of US 54. This would likely be of great interest to Butler Community College trustees with regard to your culinary school's location, as this will provide fire service in very close proximity to that location. And with the expansion of US 54 coming, we anticipate starting in the next 5 years. We believe getting a fire station south of US 54 is even more urgent to help make sure those response times stay where they need to be for public safety. The second large area that this covers is basically just completely redoing 13th Street Sports Park, which is near your primary location here in Andover. And those of you that have spent time in the park are probably aware. I think somebody said this weekend at the open house, it looks tired. And that's a good explanation for what 13th Street Sports Park looks like. It is a 20-plus-year-old facility, and we've done some maintenance and upkeep to that facility, but a lot of the equipment buildings are just at a point where they either need to be updated, or some of them are just not usable as they are. The play fields, baseball and softball, were unfortunately put in a part of that park that does not drain well. And so we have to cancel t-ball games, baseball games when it's not rained for 3 days straight, but it's just not drained over that time period. And so by getting things located in the correct places, by redoing some grading, we think we can meet the needs and demands of this community for the next 20 years and do so with a sales tax that will be just a temporary cost and will be shared by anyone who comes into our city and participates in commerce, not just the property tax owners who already have a large burden of the share of costs in the city. Really just wanted to give an update. Mr. Warrington, was there anything else I didn't say that you would like to add before we turn it over for questions?
I think you summed it up very well. I kind of just did a very brief one at the very beginning before you jumped on, but I think you summed it up very well.
Dr. Kroll or the chair of the trustees have any questions for us?
I don't believe that I do. Do any other trustees have any questions as it relates to this?
I would, I guess. Who is Family Future Forward? Or who is proposing this on the ballot?
The governing body of the city of Andover passed the resolution on August 31st to put this on the ballot. And that's how sales tax requests have to go onto the ballot, is the local municipal governing body, or if it's a county-wide, then the county commissioners. But in this case, it would be the municipal governing body.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jenny, thank you very much. And Mike, thank you very much for providing that updated information. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And so we'll move on to the trustee communication item under the board strategic discussion. I don't believe Ray is available.
Ray is here.
Oh, there he is here. Sorry, Ray.
He just snuck in.
Ray wanted to kind of provide some update after the special meeting, just as a reminder what we need to be doing from a trustee perspective.
Yeah, there was some question
Is it on?
Yep, it is.
at the last meeting as we were dealing with Ascension's requirement for vaccination or exemption. To my knowledge, we have addressed those issues. Applications have been made for exemptions that are going to be made. They have been reviewed or being reviewed. And the one student that we had a concern about who had not had vaccinations in the past, we've addressed that. That exemption request has been granted and approval has been sent to Ascension. So it's our goal and hope that we can help all the students that need clinical and don't have that COVID vaccination receive an exemption and participate in clinical. That's our goal.
Our goal currently, or future goal as well?
Well, it's our future goal as well. The other thing I wanted to mention, there was the impression at last board meeting that whether they're students or anyone else would send a letter to the president or the chairman or the executive group. And I, as general counsel, would somehow review that letter and advise them not to answer it. I've never done that. I don't see any reason that I would advise a non-response. Sometimes, as you're aware, students submit a letter anonymously, and in those situations, a response is not possible because you don't know how to contact the student. I just wanted to clarify that because the impression as I left the meeting was there was a concern by a trustee that letters are received by the executive group or the president and they're not responded to. And to my knowledge, that's not correct. And the last thing is I encourage you as individual board members if you have a contact from a student, to refer that to the president or to the chairman of the board to address, so that there's there's some continuity to the response, that it's from the board as a whole. So it's not misinterpreted as a response from the board as a whole when one individual is responding. That's a concern I have. It's one I've voiced before. You are the trier of fact in a number of these appeals. And if you get into a situation where you're responding individually, you're conflicted from participating in the appeal process, and we don't want to see that occur. So that's what I wanted to share with the board, that we're making progress, that our goal is to everybody participate, and we'll do everything we can to help that occur. Okay, Shelby?
I would have a couple follow-ups. You have told us repeatedly in public meetings, we should not respond to students who reach out to us, period, and forward it on to the president. That's on video many times. And that's not what you just said. You
Okay,
said
well,
you've never told us not to do that. And that's not true. It's been told us repeatedly. And you said it last month. Hey, trustees, don't respond to somebody when they reach out because you don't speak for the board. We understand we're not speaking for the board. If Dr. Sater wants to call me and say, hey, you want to have lunch, I'm fully capable of having lunch with them and listen to his side of the story. It's not illegal for me to do it. I cannot speak as a board or for the board or in any respects for it, but I can listen to concerns from people and from the students. And you guys mentioned there's always this little threat on us. If you talk to the student and they go to arbitration and you guys can't judge because you talked to them earlier, fine. But if that student hadn't approached us and somebody hadn't spoke up for that student never would have made it to that point, possibly. I would rather speak to the student prior, bring up their issue in public, let it be addressed. And if I can't talk to the final decision when they're being tried in front of us, that's fine. I'll step out and not stand there at that point.
Shelby, what brought this up originally, from my recollection, was there was a trustee, according to the student, who reached out and advised the student that the college was violating the Act Against Disabilities and advised them that the college was violating the law. That we have documented in writing from a student. If that took place, what I'm telling all the trustees is that was inappropriate. It should not have been done.
Inappropriate. I'm just saying that's not what we're talking about. That
Okay,
specifically, yes, that's absolutely inappropriate.
well, that's what started the conversation. That's
No, I
my
understand.
advice. If you want to be cordial to a student, listen to what they have to say. I'm not advising you not to do that.
If you would like me to go back through all the videos and time and stamp them over the times you tell us don't respond to a student when they reach out to you, it's myriad, at least 4 over the last 2 years.
Okay, well,
And
communication,
enough to the point where I talked to the ex-president of Fringe University, Biff, and said, hey, this is what they're telling us to do. And he said, you should never not respond to somebody because they feel alienated. Say, hey, I hear what you're saying. I will pass it along. Thank you very much for your problem. I'm listening. We will put it in the hopper and work on it. That's a proper response.
All right.
That's not what we were told prior.
well, let me clarify. Communication's in the ear of the beholder. So if I said something that was interpreted different than what I intended, let me try again. I'm not saying you can't be polite and cordial to the students. What I'm saying is what happened with the trustee advising the student that the college was violating the law, that was inappropriate, okay?
Yeah. But you're trying to have it both ways right now. You're trying to say that was appropriate and no, we can't respond in the future. What you told us last month at the meeting, hey, any students here, any students out there watching, don't contact the trustees, go to the president. And I don't know as they feel that they're getting.
Shelby, my
questions or-
interpretation of what he's told us all along has been if there is communication, that it would be communicated to the board chair. This was true when Jim was the board chair. This is true now. It'll be true with the next board chair to address that at the board level. I don't think we've ever said, don't talk to anybody.
You guys are going to force me now to go through all these stupid videos and point out time and date. I'll be happy to do
Well,
it.
let
I'll
me
listen
say
to it
this
at
to you.
work and
Let me
go
say
through it.
this to you, Shelby.
It's black and white how you said it. There wasn't any caveat.
If I said it that way, I apologize. What I was trying to communicate was if you get a communication from a student, you should encourage them to communicate with the chairman or the president, and the board will respond. That's what I've attempted to say. That's what I'm saying now.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
And then And I'll tell you that that's what the Higher Learning Commission expects as well. If you are, let me
No, I get it,
finish,
I get
Shelby,
it.
don't interrupt,
I did
please.
not.
Okay, well, you were starting to. The Higher Learning Commission expects that if a faculty member would reach out to you, or you would reach out to a faculty member or staff member or student, that you first inform and let my office know that that's happening. That doesn't mean that you can't respond and that you can't, have contact and have a conversation. But the Higher Learning Commission criterion on ethical governance identify that that's the process that should happen. And so that's a piece of what Ray is indicating as well. You got to let the board chair know. You should let my office know, because if you reach out, let's just say a staff member, if you would just reach out to a staff member directly without any communication through my office and me not being able to say to them, hey, Shelby's going to give you a call. He's got some questions. Will you help him? Will you, watch for his call or his email? That places that staff member in a position where they know to expect that. It makes them uncomfortable if a trustee reaches out to them directly with questions or requesting information and they don't have any heads up. That's a piece of it as well. It's professional respect. It's an opportunity to say, for me even to say to them, he's going to call or she's going to call, and this is the information that they want. Please help them. Okay.
Right. The opposite of that is what I'm speaking of, not me calling a teacher and say, hey, how do you like your budget? Teachers have reached out to me. Would you like to go to lunch? I would like to discuss my lack of budgeting and my lack of insider input and how my department is run. I'm happy to have lunch with you. And I listen.
And
I'm not calling every department and grilling them on anything. And also what you're speaking of before, we have people in administration, not in administration, but in charge of students, sent a threatening letter to the student. The board didn't know anything about that. The student brought it forward, and then we knew. I'm not trying to be secretive with anyone, and anyone who wants to talk to me can, and I don't speak for the board, and I fully understand that.
So all I think what's important is that you communicate that someone has reached out to you for information that wants to go to lunch with you.
I'm not going to share that
here's
with you.
this-
They were afraid to put their hand up and say, I don't like how things are going here. I don't want the administration to know that I'm saying this, but I would like you as a trustee to know. Okay. They don't want to stand out and be singled out. That's not, or they would raise their hand and say it to you guys. And
Well,
the
I'll
other
just tell
thing
you-
is I've heard that we're not going to allow any exemptions for nurses next year.
I don't know
I
where,
think we
I
have
don't
to
know where
worry
you
about where
heard
we are
that.
right now.
Right, but you specifically said we're going to work with them now and in the future for exemptions.
Shelby, we don't know
Well,
what.
to
the
my
future
knowledge,
holds
there
in
hasn't been
terms
a
of any of that.
request for vaccines for next year or exemption
or next
opportunities
semester.
for next year. I'm not speaking to that,
Let's
Shelby.
stay on
I'm
the
speaking to
trustee
what we have to
communication
deal with
topic.
If
now.
you did prior, I'm just clarifying that.
All right.
That is trustee communication. And I mean, you want to declare what I've received this week. Last week I got a full package of our policy on exemptions, followed by copies of 2 letters that you students fill out to get these exemptions. And the letter, of course, had all the steps in it that you went through.
That's the same information I sent to all the trustees as well.
I get that. That was on Thursday that we got it from you. And that's fine. I did tell you that I'd gotten that. And then the next day, I get an email from a student. And Caleb has written yet another email that said there will be no
Julie, do
exemptions.
not bring up personnel in the board meeting.
Okay, the staff had written yet another email, the nursing staff had written yet another email directed to all of the nursing students that no exemptions would be considered. None. Any incoming students, next semester, whatever, no exemptions.
Did you make Lance aware of that email? I'm not. Did you make anybody else aware of that
I
email?
am making you aware of it tonight because I don't have an opportunity in this board meeting to say anything unless I want to go to public communications. But we were talking about trustee communication. So I'm telling you, and you just stated, or at least Kim did, she would like to be privileged on this information.
Did you inform her of that?
No.
Tonight, telling you.
No, but you didn't inform me when you got it.
That doesn't exist. whereas we have heard it does in writing. It's like, just give us the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help us and let's get this business going and not have any.
I think we resolved the issue with the exemptions at the special meeting. The purpose of this tonight is to try to make sure that we stay aligned with what the HLC and those things that they require essentially. And if we're communicating outside the board and representing the board or implying in any way that we are, that's going to cause problems is my understanding. And so I think Ray has clarified if there was question as to what his intent was, then that's been clarified. So hopefully we could move on and not have to address these issues.
So I think it's appropriate to acknowledge receipt of an email or a concern, and the fact that you will share that with the appropriate personnel at the college. If I've received emails, which I have, I've said, thank you for sharing your concerns, and I will refer them to the appropriate individual at the college to address.
I had an individual email me say, I filled out my exemption form. I'm just notifying you I did. I haven't been denied or approved. I'm letting you know personally as a trustee, as of this date, this is what I sent in, keeping you in the loop. I'm not forwarding that on. They didn't want that on to anyone else. They just wanted me to be aware that they've applied for exemption.
Well, they
And if
didn't ask you
something-
to address a concern, so I
No,
don't
but
think,
that's another thing. I'm not going to pass on every email that somebody personally communicates.
I can see that.
Trustee
But
Long.
if someone asks,
If they want to, they can jolly well send it to the whole
Yeah.
entire board.
if they express a concern, I think it's appropriate to acknowledge it and tell them you refer it to the appropriate.
In
But that
respect,
individual
that's
you're
different-
talking
That's
about,
a different matter, but
Yeah.
that's 100% right.
okay,
Trustee
We're having
Long,
two different
Yes, ma'am.
arguments.
just so everybody knows here, okay, I was actually out of town until late last night. And then this morning I reviewed my emails. So I didn't really have the email until this morning. And I guess I'm conflicted because I want to represent the students if they ask to send me an email letting me know what's going on. That doesn't mean I'm advising them to do anything. However, I think it's important that they have a place to go if they're afraid to go to faculty, if they're afraid to go to the president's office or someplace else. I mean, we're elected. No one else is.
but I do agree it's inappropriate to just ignore it. I think you have to acknowledge
It is
receipt.
very inappropriate.
And then from there,
So
gets a
I'm going to
little-
state my name is Julie Winslow. My email is winslowja@gmail.com. And my phone number is 316-390-9090. If anyone in the college wants to get a hold of me, I cannot act for the board. I cannot give you legal advice or any of that other stuff, but I can listen and I can take note and I can ask questions.
but I don't think it's appropriate that you're the gatekeeper of the complaint department.
I don't think anybody thinks that that's
I
what I'm
think you
trying
just
to be.
advertised that you were.
You know, all I want
Just
to
an
know-
observation. I'm not arguing with you.
Hey, when we adopted our new bylaws,
Yes, ma'am.
remember
I do.
that said, okay, the president, the vice chair, the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary, I think it was,
Yes, ma'am.
is going to get the emails that go to trustees at,
The website, yes. I mean,
Yes,
the
to go to
address.
trustees, Gmail, trustees at whatever,
Yes,
Butler,
ma'am.
CC dot,
That's
whatever.
correct.
You know,
We amended that though, to add an additional email so they couldn't.
we amended that to add the extra to where you could go to this step and you could refer to this step and then eventually you could get all of the,
It was
all of the
one
emails,
link.
but-
It wasn't multiple steps. It was hitting one link that's already in the reply
what we
email.
didn't know at the time is we didn't know that there were other people getting those emails. And I think it's important that the students that are emailing that know that the trustees are not the only one that are tied into that email. So if they send an email to that, then it's going to go to those 3 trustees plus whatever administrator that Kim would like it to go to. I think it's important that they know that. That's not what the trustee's email is supposed to be, but that's what happens. And while I understand why Kim gets a copy, on the other hand, I don't. If they are if there's an expectation of privacy, there is none. And I want to make that clear. So
I'd like to clarify just a little bit about that process and the importance of why it helps to have that come to my office to make sure that,
right, so you can oversee it, make sure that it gets done. I get
so that I can make sure that Lance or whoever the board chair is knows how to craft the response, because oftentimes when those complaints come in, we have a communication process that has to follow. If it's a grievance or an appeal, we have to follow the policy and the appeal process that's in place. And so sometimes that response would be, appreciate your email. We've directed it back to the dean or back to, someone to look into. They'll be in contact with you. The reason I get that email as well in my office is to make sure that whoever the board chair is understands who that needs to go back to help resolve it. It's not to keep secrets. It's not to violate anything. It's just to make sure that it gets resolved. It also is to make sure that I get it logged in on the sheet that I have to keep for the Higher Learning Commission. If there are complaints that come to the trustees, I have to log that information. We've been through that before. And so that's part of the reason.
It's just apparent that it's a trust level, and I hope we get to where we don't have that concern someday.
Well, I'm a little bit concerned because of the email that I got this morning. I really am. And, maybe I should have taken the time.
What email, Julie? The one you were referencing earlier? I mean, that's an example of that needs to be shared with the rest of us, or at least the board.
I don't have a problem forwarding that. If I can, all I have to do is make a copy of it. I simply haven't had time to do that. I've had a multitude of other things to do today. It's my first day back in 7 days, and I just had other things to do. But the fact is, I wasn't trying to hold it from anybody, but I was really confused at last meeting. We said this was our policy, and yet I get a conflicting email that says our new policy is what's here and now is what's here and now, but future nursing students, they will be required to be in the nursing program. They will be required to get vaccinations, including COVID-19. And one of the other things I want to address under this community or this trustee communication is, what do we do with those people like me that have had a severe case of COVID?
Julie, we're talking about the communication. We're not, we talked about the nursing program and the exemptions last month at the special meeting. So is there any other, is there any other discussion related to trustee communications?
Comment would be, you nor I can really do anything about it when we get a concern, except share it with those who are able to resolve it.
I'm sharing it and I'm saying, put out this policy.
So I think it's
Thursday.
appropriate
Friday,
that we,
got a whole different email.
I think it's appropriate we acknowledge receipt and let the individual know that we will share it with those who are able to resolve it. Because none of us individually can, only the administration can.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I think, not to beat this dead horse, the concern I have.
I think we already did.
Yeah, probably. The concern that I have with where you all want to go with this, and I understand wanting to be cordial and wanting to be responsive. Ignoring our constituents, whether they be students, faculty, or anybody else, is not what we're here for. But we exist as 7 individual members of one body. And the longer we take an individual path of conversation with any person about an issue that is driven by the college but uniquely affects them, the more they think we have a hand in how it's going to be handled. They're not going to take you to lunch for 30 minutes to tell you something and expect nothing to come of it.
They did not buy my lunch.
I'm not saying, no, I mean, you understand my point.
Pointing that out.
The longer that dialogue continues, the more we are giving a false impression to the person we're talking with that they have the voice of the board, or they have an inside clue or an inside actor that's going to take action for them. And that is, we shouldn't be representing that. And I'm not saying that you're trying to, but I think that's a slippery slope. When you start going to, you mentioned, Julie, that it's okay if I follow somebody up and I listen to them and I ask questions. Well, if you're not going to tell anybody the information that you get because you're concerned, no, I'm not talking about the email, I'm just talking generally. Then where is the person you're talking with left? They're not sharing all that information for it to stay in your head and never go anywhere. They think that something's going to come of it. And that's not the right way for those issues to be addressed. They need to get into Dr. Kroll's hands so she can address it through our policies within the college. And then if there's a right of appeal, then the board gets involved afterwards, not on the front end.
And I agree with the concept of what you're stating. I don't think it hurts for the trustees to be witnesses or not so much be involved, but at least have, at least the students can come and say, you know what, I know you can't do anything. I know you can't do anything about this or this and that, but I wanted you to know that this was happening. And that's exactly my point in disclosing that email that I just opened this morning. We discussed this entire policy and now it's totally different again. So are we just?
It's
a bunch of
not
dummies up
different.
here? It is different. It is different.
I think we need to see that email. I mean,
I
that,
will definitely forward it to you.
I would love
Okay.
to see
I
it.
will
Thank you.
copy and paste it.
Let's go ahead and move on to the adult.
Let me say one thing. We've been told, and I agree 1,000%, I do not speak for the entire board. I do not give da, 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 da. You're beating that dead horse and we get it. That's not our discussion here. So I get that 1,000,000%. I don't
Okay.
speak for the board. Anybody out there in Cake Land, I don't speak for the board. We're not arguing about that. So it's crystal clear.
Okay.
Thanks, Shelby.
We'll move on to item C, the adult basic education and career and tech education at El Dorado Correctional Facility. I think Jamie.
Jamie Garing's on. Yeah.
I am here. Thanks for having me this evening. I'm here tonight just to give you guys a little bit of information as we have, as of last month, you guys approved through the consent agenda our contract with the Department of Corrections to provide both adult basic education and career and technical education at El Dorado Correctional Facility. Butler has done adult education out at the correctional facility for a number of years, but now we have the opportunity to add some of our CTE programs to the correctional facility. And so we're excited to start out with masonry. It's going to start middle of this month. And then we're looking at other programs through partnerships that can possibly be added out there. And so looking to educate people who are due for release within 3 to 5 years, making sure that they have employment to go to upon release so that hopefully the chances of them reoffending are minimized. And so that's our purpose out there. I wanted to share with you guys kind of that things are moving forward and open up for questions that you may have as we move through this grant. I do want to make it very clear that Butler this is a grant, and so no Butler funds are being utilized or planned to be utilized throughout this process. Contract currently goes through 2024 with the possibility of 5 one-year extensions. And this is a contract that Butler was able to take over as their previous partner, Greenbush, no longer had that contract. So with that brief description, I'll offer it this time for any questions. I have a question. Sure.
It's been stated many years that the prisoners really want classes on auto mechanics, and they feel that that's a job that they could do when they get out. Are we listening to them about maybe some of the classes that they want?
Sure, great question. We are partnered very tightly through this process with the Department of Corrections, and so we are taking under advisement questions that the residents do have, as well as what the Department of Corrections deems to be appropriate programming out there. And so as we look to expand, we are making all considerations, but again, we're wanting to be very careful that we keep this grant related. So any new program, we want to make sure there's no cost to Butler. And so we're looking for partners to move forward in those processes.
So the Department of Corrections does not want an auto tech program?
At this time, we've been directed to start with masonry and then review as we move forward, depending on the outcomes of the masonry program.
Second question, since they are so low on personnel out there at the prison, do we all feel safe out there?
Yes, I'm actually currently in training, which is exciting to kind of help out there as needed. It's a 40-hour training that we each go through to get our badges. I've talked with both Cheryl Watkins and Michelle Reuter. Cheryl Watkins is on the adult basic education side and Michelle Reuter on the career and tech side. And both of them have expressed that not only themselves, but their instructors all feel very safe at the facility.
Thank you.
Of course.
Is there any other questions for Jamie? If not, Jamie, thank you very much for the update.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. Thank you. So we'll move on to the board action items, which is the Butler Foundation lease for the culinary project. I believe Tom Borrego.
Yes.
Here
Thanks,
to
Lance.
share some information with us.
Would also like to acknowledge Rod Young, who's the president of the board of directors of the board of foundation, and he will be able to answer any questions that you may have with respect to the lease and the project itself. So to give you kind of a little bit of background on how we got where we're at right now, as you recall, at one time, Butler Community College was in discussions with WSU Tech about doing a combined culinary program, and those conversations didn't go anywhere or weren't going anywhere, and the president began to look at opportunities for other options for the culinary program and where it might be served. And during that time, one of our advisory committee members for the culinary program began having conversations with the president about options and looking at opportunities. That led to eventually a decision by this benefactor to decide that he wanted to help the college create a new culinary program in Butler County for the benefit of our students. And so he reached out to the foundation as well as another benefactor who is also, I believe, part of that advisory committee and had some interest in seeing a successful program at Butler about the donation of land off of Highway 54 east of Andover Road. So conversations began to be had about the possibilities of what could happen, what could be done. And eventually there came a consensus that they wanted to invest in this project, and a donation of land was discussed, as well as a significant gift to get the project going. At that time, then COVID hit, things got a little jerky, but we began to put together some committees that brought the foundation and the college together to begin looking at what this may be and what this may look like. We get to, probably March of 21, I believe, and we began to look at the actual transactions of doing this, what it might cost us and that type of thing. Went through the summer, engaged RFPs for architect and general contractor, and began the process of going through that. We have received a significant pledge from this benefactor. We've received a gift from the benefactor who has the land. And so now we're in the process of looking at the design of the building and the site plan, and are wanting to submit those to the city of Andover in October for review, with a hopeful approval that we can begin to start scratching the ground in November. All of this is done in a very quick pace because we're trying to get the building open by July 31st to be ready for the fall 2022 semester. So time is of the essence. The one document that we're discussing today is the lease, which the lease is the opportunity for the college to use the building for the culinary program at an amount that is equal to the amount that they've been paying Boston Rec for the use of their facility. Our attempt there was to try to keep the costs within the budget that was already developed for culinary, so that we wouldn't be asking the board to increase the least amount that was previously being paid. So we're trying to be as fiscally responsible to this board with respect to this new building. So we've drafted up the lease. It has basically the add amount. It has responsibilities of the college as to expenses. There's a triple net lease, and all that's described in the document as well. We have, I believe, a rendering of what the building looks like to date. And this is not a very detailed rendering, but it does give you an idea of what this will look like. So if you can just flash that up there. So what you're seeing in front of you is two shots. One, the top is what you would see from Highway 54, which is the back end of the building. And then what you see on the front end is the south end, which would be the entrance into the building. It, of course, will have kitchens, it will have classrooms, it will have gathering spaces to be able to fulfill the mission of that program, as well as an opportunity to engage the community from time to time with our students and allow the students to be able to show their abilities and give them a little bit of hands-on experience. That is where we're at.
Yeah, the floor plans, of course, include storage space and office space and, I'm sorry?
Where
Where
are
are
the
they?
floor plans?
Well, we just met today and we're developing those. They're getting finished up and they will be presented to the city of Andover for approval.
You guys are asking us to lease the building without even giving us a blueprint. That's ridiculous.
Well,
Speaking with Tom.
I really respect Tom in the fact that he's trying to limit the lease to the amount of money that we were paying for the Boston facility in Wichita. And a 10-year lease of that price and no more. See, I don't remember what that lease included. I don't know if it included some of the utilities or not some of the utilities or whatever, and Ray is not here. So I cannot ask him directly, have you looked at this lease? And this is really what you think is fair to the college.
he has reviewed the lease.
But he's not here and I can't ask him that, and I would have preferred to ask him that direct.
There is nothing in this lease that's on the college's side. It's 100% on the foundation side. The foundation exists to benefit the college and its students, and not the other way around. It shouldn't be 100% your side only. We're not divided. And then 0% on our end, and we take all the risk and all the liabilities as the college. You guys have no skin in the game whatsoever.
I don't
We were told,
believe,
what is-
do we take any risk? I think the foundation owns the risk.
Have you read the contract?
They
Yeah.
have.
Well, then
Then-
you would have seen that the foundation has.
When it's my time, I'm going to read the contract and show you guys that the foundation has no risk and we are accepting all liabilities. There's no warranties written or implied. We are buying it as is, where is, with no.
We're not
guarantees of
buying
We're
anything.
not buying it.
We're leasing it,
It's
With
just
the
like
option
we
to
were
buy,
leasing with the option, which we don't have to do.
But as of day one, once we take possession, they're not responsible for any repairs, anything. That's what the contract says. It's all on us at that point. And we don't even have a blueprint. We don't have a cost analysis. We don't have any information now. And this is a super hurry, and you started in the summer with an architect. We should have drawings by now. And I asked last month, said, hey, please get us this information prior to our board book on Thursday before the meeting. And I asked that at 2 hours and 10 minutes in. I would like the numbers prior. You said, we will know soon. Julie asked at 2:08, have we ever done this before, approve a lease before the ground's even broken? That was a no. Mary clarified it, where we had an addition one time. The Keep Boston Rec amount, we're supposedly told that we're going to get over $1 million donation for the building and then land donated. And now if we're asked to pay 28 grand a year in interest only, but no rent, that is the equivalent of the $500,000 loan at a 20-year fixed rate at 4% interest. So that's presenting to me, we're going to build $1.5 million building. Only $1 million of it's donated. We're going to borrow the rest and the college will pay that interest. But this is what's so frustrating. Here's the plans for the building that I'm presented. Plans. Okay. Yeah. And then here is the property identification. It's a blank sheet and you guys are asking me to approve a lease on it. It's like, we need some data.
My understanding, Tom, is that we're a point in order to stay on track with the project to have it ready to go by August is we need to work with the foundation to move forward with the lease at this point in time so they can start to break.
So
This is the
ground.
foundation's money, the foundation's building, the board has not approved the building of building it. It is given to them for the purpose of that foundation. And you're asking us to just step right in before you even got any skin in the game and take liability on it.
the focus here is to get the college a building to use. You do not own the building. The foundation owns that building. You can choose to lease it from us if you'd like to. But if you don't, then you'll have to find a place for your culinary program to be able to deliver that program. The foundation has a significant benefactor that's bringing significant dollars into this.
His name, it's been all in the newspapers.
Well,
He's got
that's
tons of
fine.
advertising.
Well,
He has his own option.
I'll choose to address him as I want to address him, but it's a significant benefactor. And the foundation is willing to match what that significant benefactor is going to give. We're also, working to try to reduce whatever the debt that we have towards the sale of that if you should ever choose to purchase it. And the bottom line is we're trying to give the college the best opportunity at a facility to deliver a program. The foundation is not looking to make any money off of this. This is purely for the benefit of the mission of the college. And so these conversations have been had we present this to Ray. Ray looked at it. He lined out all the items that he saw. There weren't any significant questions that he had. And so we then rolled in some of the information like the specifics on the amounts, and we got that finalized to present to you. This is an opportunity for you to capture an opportunity to use a brand new building for this program. Now, I will say that this opportunity, if we didn't have this opportunity and we needed to find a location, it would be much more expensive. And so we have what I would think a generous opportunity. And I hope that the board will see this as such. This board is taking risk. It has tremendous desire to help the college. And Rod, I don't know if there's anything that you want to say on behalf of the directors, but we've been talking about this as a board for some time, and we had to bring our board to a comfort level as well.
But you're providing me no specifics of any kind, no dollar amounts for the building. It's just
well,
I get that you're working with us.
but
and I appreciate it,
it's a
but
lease. It's a lease.
I know. But
You're
I
not.
need
You're
more
not.
data. I will not sign a lease without even know what I'm getting for the layout or anything. It's just this is a blank piece of paper that says we will take whatever you get us for $28,000 a year or less. And once we move in, we're responsible for any damages, anything that's, I mean, when you buy a new house for $500,000, there's a 1-year materials and workmanship labor. At the end of 1 year, you go through that entire house with a fine tooth comb, the builder comes in and they make it right. There is none of that. We take it day one as is, like we're buying it at an auction. That's not what I want the college to take on that burden for a building we don't own. The foundation owns it.
I jump in for a second?
Sure, sure.
Thank you for the invite. I'm Rod Young, Foundation President. Address the question you just had about the 1-year warranty. We do have that in the contract.
Rod, can you be sure to talk into your mic, just to be sure Mary Martha and Jeff can hear?
Closer?
Thank you, sir.
Already screwed up. No, we do have 1-year warranty. So when you move in,
That's not in what we.
no, that's not the contractor's agreement, okay? That's agreement between the foundation and the board of trustees of the college. We have another agreement with the contractor, like you would have your homeowner house. That agreement says when they're done, there's the final inspection, there's occupancy, the city Andover gives us, and then we get a 1-year warranty from that, okay?
The foundation may, but that's not used in this contract specifically. The college itself has none of that. It's specifically written that way. You as a foundation might, but if we purchase it, we have none of that.
We don't, okay, you're leasing it, right?
With the option to buy.
Right. So the first 10 year, like an agreement's a 10-year agreement, right? So that language is probably more pertinent to after year one. The first year, we do have a warranty with the contractor. So we won't come to the college, so you need to fix this because the contractor will, okay?
That has to be in writing here for me to approve it. I don't know you. I would never buy a building on someone's word.
But we're not
Yeah,
buying.
you're not buying-
anything.
we're not buying a
I say
building.
buy, but yeah.
But there's a difference. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there is a fundamental difference between us walking into something as a lessee than if we're walking into something that we're buying.
I will read it when we get there, but it specifically says in the lease, Exhibit C, landlord's work, landlord will have no responsibility or liability with respect thereto for any consequential, speculative, ancillary, or punitive damages, including loss of use. Tenant acknowledged landlord has not made and will not make any representations or warranty to tenant with respect to the quality construction of landlord's work or the fixtures, blah, 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 blah. It's explicitly specific.
The foundation's
on
the
the risk.
landlord. The foundation
it
is the
says-
landlord.
Yeah, and they will not, the landlord has not made and will not make any representation or warranties to tenant with respect to the quality of construction, blah, 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 blah. Anything is wrong, the landlord foundation will have no responsibility or liability or respect for anything, even if the building has to close and we can't use it, they take no responsibility. It's all on our shoulders.
Well,
That's
what
why I
is,
tried to have
what
this
is
for
on your
discussion
shoulders?
What is on our
The
shoulders
10-year
if the building
lease.
closes?
From
No.
the foundation, with the foundation, that 10-year.
We can
lease.
walk away from the lease.
Yeah.
There is
Really?
another.
we can't
writing in here.
perform-
No,
Did you
we
read
can't.
it?
We cannot. They're,
I didn't read it.
page
Shelby,
17,
Shelby,
number
1 second.
19, under no circumstances will tenant have the right to terminate this lease or abate or offset any rent due under this lease. Under no circumstances can we terminate this lease.
And didn't you read that?
I've read it twice. This is not a good contract for us as a college. This needs to be tweaked. The
And-
place on Andover Road is amazing. Kellogg, it's amazing. Let's do culinary, awesome. But I have to have a blueprint. I have to have cost analysis. I have to have scope of work. And I have to have something that's not punitive to me. This is why I try to move this to a discussion item and I understand we're in a hurry all of a sudden. But I'm not, you can't go be in a hurry and sign a contract like this.
Doug, did you have?
I was
something
just
to add?
going to go procedurally. I was going to make a motion to approve the lease and get a second so that we can have discussion according to Robert's rule.
And you guys are gonna vote it in whether or not.
So is
No,
that
you
a
gotta do
motion?
what you want.
That's how it's always
No,
been.
no, I'm just saying, that's how, yeah, go for it.
Procedurally, that's how it works.
And that's
We're
great.
we're kind of
And he's
pre-arguing.
gonna read the whole contract and we are gonna discuss it.
I'm gonna read what I got highlighted.
Then you guys will all be in record for voting for it after all the discussion.
Fair enough.
Doug,
On
were you
record
gonna
for
make a
every vote we
motion?
Make, right? Okay. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the lease.
The motion has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the lease for the Butler Community College building for the culinary program. Is there any discussion?
Well,
I think so.
Shelby,
According to Robert's rules, I have 10 minutes to speak 2 times, once now and once after everyone else has spoken. So I'm just gonna go through it. On page 10, they've received initial contributions. How much? I don't know. It's not written down. Foundation is offering to lease the building at no cost with the
Wait, I'm
college
sorry,
to
Shelby,
pay.
what page is you? I'm gonna follow with you.
I'm on number 10,
Oh, you
topic for action.
Paragraph 10 or page 10?
No, page number 10, under report, first sentence.
Oh, I thought you were on the contract. Okay.
Nope, I'm getting there.
Okay.
They're only going to ask us to pay the finance cost of the mortgage only. Encumber the foundation not to exceed 28 grand, which what I said previously, that equates to a $500,000 loan, ballpark. I don't know, is that just a $1.5 million building sitting there? It doesn't look like it to me, but I have no blueprints. Lease agreement, page 11, top of that. It's effective whatever date, doesn't say, not, and the landlord is it's not even filled in. The landlord is the foundation, the tenant is the college. Exhibit A, it's going to be approximately 65,340 square feet. We flip back to Exhibit A. Description of the premises. It's a generic, this many feet and this many location. That tells me nothing. That's worse than looking at the tax stoles and finding out what your property description is. So that tells me virtually nothing except gross square footage. Okay, got it. B, target delivery date, early or late delivery. The landlord will use commercially reasonable efforts, which is not defined, which it's okay, that's okay language, to cause delivery date to occur by August 1. And what hard evidence do we have that that will happen? We don't even have blueprints yet. That's target delivery date. Skip down a little bit. If landlord is delayed for any reason or for any reason fails to cause delivery date to occur on or before the target delivery date, then the tenant shall take possession of the premises on actual delivery date. Such delay or failure to timely deliver this premises does not constitute a default under this lease and does not allow the tenant to terminate this lease. And in no event will the landlord be liable to tenant for any loss or damage resulting from delay or failure in the delivery of these premises. They go to build, foundation falls apart, there's an earthquake, whatever. This is still our building. We have to do it for 10 years. We can't get out of it.
But we aren't paying rent until we take possession. So we're delayed in getting there, but we aren't out anything,
okay,
which is no worse than we are right now. We have to have a space to.
Honestly,
to
I
house
don't
it.
know
No,
how you
it's still my-
said this because you're so happy.
Acquisition of premises on the effective date. They lease the premises to us. I don't have this agreement. And then there's a certain real estate and acquisition donation agreement dated effective September 1st, 2021. Where is this said agreement that donates the land? I would like to look at that prior to leasing this. Page 12, number 4, use of premises. This is a real stickler for me too. We as a college need flexibility. We're currently competing head to head with WSU Tech Culinary Hospitality. They're doing $5 million. Who knows what they're really going to do? We're doing our thing. Use of premises. Number 4, tenant shall use the premises solely for educational or other programs that are related to culinary arts, the restaurant industry, or the hospitality industry, including without limitation any program or activity in furtherance of culinary arts program, and no business may be conducted upon the premises that is a violation of regulation of blah, 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 blah. So we can only use this for culinary period, no matter what. 10 years out, that's a long time. We have no flexibility of any kind to use this for any other reason. We get down to 5 students, like there's our giant building and nothing else can happen there because that's what's in our contract. There needs to be a clause in there that says, hey, if something happens in the future, we understand it might need to be used for another purpose. It's still a giant, great advertising for Butler.
Tom,
But
can
you
you
don't put
address
that
that
type
question?
of-
or not?
That type of verbiage in there.
I'm sorry. The benefactor wants specifically you have this used for culinary.
I understand that.
Right. And so that is a stipulation on his part that if the college decides to take a left turn and wants to do something different, that they don't do that.
But
He
how-
wants to see that.
Why does this benefactor get to dictate what we do as a board, this one man?
Well, because the benefactor has made the gift to the foundation is building the
He has
building.
made the gift?
Yeah.
Do you have something that you have to send to him to prove to the IRS that he made a contribution?
Sure, we do gift receipts.
Okay, what form is that? I forgot what form that is.
It's a gift,
Is
it's a
that
letter.
public record minus the name, whatever?
Sure, you can look on 990s and see what the contribution, that he made a contribution.
And also the one from.
I still
the
want to finish talking,
landowner
Julie.
has that too?
Ding, ding, ding. I want to finish what I'm saying. Tell my time.
Go ahead,
tell my time.
Shelby. I
Okay.
thought Tom might be able to
Page
address your
13,
questions.
We got an absolute net lease. If you skip down to the bottom of that, including without limitation, all taxes and assessments, utility charges, insurance costs, maintenance, repair, replacement expenses, together with any and all assessments, charges, costs, and expenses of any kind related to the premises and the business operated on the premises, except providing this lease, landlord will bear no cost or expense of any kind with respect to the premises. If you own that and I'm leasing it, I do not agree with that. It's your building. You should take care of your building. It's not my job to do that. Number 7, you skip down the middle. Tenant is taking possession of the premises. When we take it, we prove it, we do the punch list, blah, blah, blah. It's conclusive evidence that tenant's acceptance of the premises is as is, where is, with all faults. When we take it, there's no obligation of landlord to construct, improve, modify, clean, repair, replace, or perform any services at the premises, unless it's set in the lease, which it's not. Landlord makes no representations, warranties, covenants, express or implied. And at the bottom, tenant is relying solely on its own investigation. So up to us when we take possession to look at everything and say it's okay. Taxes, I don't think that applies to us because we don't pay taxes. Maintenance repairs, as additional rent, tenant will perform all maintenance and make all repairs, replacements, ordinary and extraordinary, capital and otherwise, now known or later discovered. Such maintenance, repair, and replacement includes, not limited to, floor, ceilings, heating and air, plumbing, electrical systems, and all other building systems, windows, doors, all signage, boards, sidewalks, landscaping, on and on and on. It's all the college's responsibility. Indemnification, tenant will indemnify, hold harmless the landlord. Got it. Liability insurance as additional rent. We'll have liability, get it. Hazard insurance as additional rent. We will pay that. Covenants and restrictions, we shall pay as an additional rent. Any covenants exemptions, that's page 15. Go to page 17. Tenant shall not make or cause to be made any changes, alterations, additions, or improvements without the landlord's consent. Landlord's default, if landlord fails to perform obligation, yada, yada, yada. At the bottom of that, it says, but under no circumstance will the tenant have a right to terminate this lease or offset any rent. So we have no options to get out of this lease.
Can't collect any repairs either.
In number 23, the Redler option, the tenant acknowledges that the premises is subject to a certain option agreement by the landlord and Scott Redler dated April 7th, 2004. Where is this document? I need to see it prior to signing this.
Shelby.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
We may have just lost live stream, so I
Oh,
want
no.
to make sure.
Yeah, this is gripping television.
I've got my charger, but it's just not working. And I tried her charger. I don't know why it's not. It's not working. It says we're still live, so
Oh.
We
Maybe
still
just-
okay?
I don't know. She's
About 2 minutes left to your 10.
All right,
Shelby.
I got 2 minutes. Here we go.
Sorry.
Redler option. Pursuant to which the grantee under the Redler option has an option, Mr. Redler, to purchase the premises in the event Mr. Redler, under the Redler option agreement, exercises its option and purchases the premises. This lease will terminate as of the closing, and neither the landlord nor the tenant will have any further rights hereunder, except those rights and obligations expressly survive termination. So there isn't even at what cost will the Redler group pay for the building? There's nothing written here. We can build a building, we can move in, and he could say, I'm gonna buy it. You all skedaddle. I would trust the man, I would trust the foundation, but I would never sign a contract with verbiage like this that doesn't explicitly say he will buy the building at 1.25% of whatever we paid, whatever the cost was, or there's not even a number there. It's just, he can purchase it and we're out, period, end of story.
And taxes can be included if the landlord decides that we shall pay them.
If the number 19, if the building burns down or if there's a giant fire, we got to repair it unless it's within the last year of the lease. That's no big deal. Number 37, the estoppel certificate at any time without cost of landlord. We have to give them this
Shelby,
information.
there's your,
That's
10 minutes.
virtually the end of it right there.
Tom, are you able to provide some context into some of those
Well,
questions?
I mean, you rattled through a lot there, and I don't know that we can begin to go back to the number one concern and start addressing everything. What I will say in kind of a summary is that the lease is the opportunity for you to use the building. And there are expenses that you'll incur from utilities, maintenance, and that type of thing. But all of the other stuff that you were alluding to about blueprints, about the Redler and all that, that's between the foundation and the donor. And then, so those aren't really the purview of this board quite yet, because you don't own the
But you
building.
want us to approve the payment of this lease that you're doing.
I want you to approve the lease to allow you to use the building for the culinary program. If there are other opportunities that the college has to look for other spaces to do this, I mean, the foundation recognizes that. But the foundation was presented with an opportunity that would allow the college to be able to continue its program in Butler County with significant investment by donors and potential new donors to create this.
My opinion is, then get your blueprints together, get your numbers together, and present that to us. Don't present us a blank, fill in the blanks contract later.
The blueprints and all of that will be provided to the foundation's board of directors for their approval.
Right, then get the lease from us after that.
Well, you know, this time is this is not a.
You started in March. That's a lot of time to get blueprints.
Well, we didn't have an architect in March. We started discussing the financial commitments to this project in March, but we didn't start
You said
engaging.
in summer you got an architect, what you said earlier.
Well, we got one in August. We've been working probably from about mid-August to now.
Where is said work? Where's the preliminary drawings of the floor layout and the kitchen?
Those are all with the architect and will be submitted to the city of Andover on
So
Friday.
there are some currently. that
Oh,
exist.
absolutely
And
there
I
are.
asked you last month, as soon as those exist,
Those
please
are,
get those to me so I can have more information prior. That's why I'm at this stage of frustration.
but those layouts are for the benefit, for the foundation board of directors to decide.
And this lease agreement is
This,
for
the
trustee
use of the
board to
building,
approve,
the
right?
use of the building.
Right, providing this lease, right? This is the actual lease that we would have to sign with the foundation.
Yes, it's the use of the building.
And I completely understand what you're saying. And although I trust you, Tom, I understand the foundation is extremely important. And I certainly want that culinary program to grow. And I really love the location. I think that's going to be highly beneficial. But this is like buying a car without ever looking at it, test driving it, or anything. And I think it's a terrible.
You're not
obligation.
buying a car. You're not buying a building. You are leasing space.
And you're asking us to approve a lease with a lot of blanks in it.
He's asking us to approve a lease so the culinary program can move forward in Butler County.
A lease with no amount.
Well, this building can proceed
amount's
without our input. This is being built without our input.
Yeah, we don't need
mean,
to do
this-
that. You
I
can do
mean,
that
you
as
guys
a foundation.
can
You don't need us.
Get the ball
right now.
rolling. I mean, we're not stopping you from getting the building going. All we're stopping.
We
you from-
understand that.
Why
We
do you need
understand
us
that.
now?
My question.
Because we
kind
need
of-
somebody to use the building. And if you're not going to use the building, the
We
foundation will
would
then.
love to use the building, but I just would not sign a contract like this. I'm not saying I don't trust you guys, but my question in the
Well,
back
what
of my
are-
mind is like, you guys have space in this building as the foundation.
Mhm.
Do you guys pay a lease for this building? Do you pay utilities? Have you-
We raised the money for this building.
So you guys,
We built this
and
building.
then donated it to the college?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Which
what
is what they're-
foundations do.
Proposing
Right.
doing part of with this building is the donors. And then my understanding, Tom, is you said you were anticipating raising some additional funds to
We
support this
we will be
program,
raising a
correct?
minimum, we have a minimum dollar in our mind, but we also have, we think I know we'll exceed our goal. But our conversations that we've been having as a board is, do we use those extra dollars to pretty up the project even more, or do we reduce debt? And that's a conversation that the foundation will have as to what we do with those additional dollars.
Now, I understand I'm coming across a lot of animosity. It's just, I need more. This is like the diesel program. I asked, we've been in contact or contract or conversations for a year with industry and demand of industry. We get it 4 or 5 days before. I have no real input or good questions to ask. We have 2 diesel students currently, and I understand
Well-
why. But with this.
Why? Let's make
specifically-
that clear to the public. Why?
Well, the administration's reason is that we didn't approve it soon enough.
Yeah.
But
That's exactly right. It
Right.
took a
But
time
let's
frame.
stay
get
on the
approved.
culinary program. That
Exactly.
it's
So I'm just saying,
important to the it's important for
I-
the public to know the reason that program didn't get off as fast as it could is because the board as a whole decided we needed to wait to approve it.
We waited, what, 30 days?
We waited
No.
about 4 months.
It was a 4-month time frame.
Anyway, Tom, I'm just asking, you guys are doing over $1 million project. Have your numbers together, your prints together, get that to me.
We
That's a
have,
great
Shelby,
location, and I'd be happy to have culinary there. I just cannot sign a lease. like
Shelby,
this.
we have all of that together and we're talking to
Why
the,
wasn't it provided to me?
because it's provided the board of directors of the foundation is the responsible body for this building. They're the ones that will look at this. You're looking at the lease, the use of the building. I mean, the fact that
But
you
I
want to
don't
look
even
at
have
blueprints and
blueprints. I
stuff,
don't know
that's
what this
great
building
and all,
is.
but the building that you need space to do your the program. That's what we're providing. That's what we're agreeing to provide. You will get this information as it comes along, but we're building this design, all of this right now. This is happening right now. This isn't like something that happened 6 months ago. This is happening right now.
Then show me, prove it. Show me the stuff.
I
and
think
will
there
be
are,
happy to.
I think there are two huge issues that are being lost in this conversation. The first is the time essence that we're under. We need to be able to have culinary operating in different space than where it is right now by fall of 22. We don't have time to kick this can down the road for 4 months for all these other reasons. The other issue that factors into that, in my view, is we're not talking about an adverse lender. We're not talking about some entity that we don't know from Adam that's going to sell us, that's going to rent us a building that we know nothing about, and we have no reason to trust or have any faith in the entity we're dealing with. We're dealing with an entity that exists. Its existence is to support the college. And we're treating them like they're somebody we've never seen before, and we can't possibly have any faith or confidence in what they're doing. And that bothers me. I understand some of the issues that you would like to have clarity on, but I think we are missing the bigger picture to focus on those issues to the detriment of culinary when we've been presented with an absolute gift. A year ago, we're in Boston Rec. We're in a facility that is so ill-equipped to host what it was doing in a terrible location for where we operate and the people that we serve. And for reasons outside of our control, we got forced out of there. And now we're under a timeline to preserve a program that we love, that is excelling and doing great and is a gem in our cap. And we've got an opportunity to push that forward. And this is where it is. And I think we're ignoring all those other things to focus on details.
I appreciate what the foundation is doing. You're asking me to have trust towards them, which I do, but you all need to have that towards us as well. And once I'm provided an acceptable contract, I'm happy to sign that. What the deal you're giving us is great, except for all this verbiage that is not pro college on the liability. There's some stuff in here that needs to be tweaked, more data that needs to be provided before this should be signed. And I don't see us signing this tonight is going to affect them building the building if they're going to build it regardless of our. I'm not anti-culinary in any respect. I know we've got a big battle to fight with WSU Tech. We need to get going. And it's a great location. It's high visibility. It's just, I can't sign this in good conscience. I would never buy a car this way or a home or any other product. Even if it was from my dad giving me this contract, I'd be like, hey man, I'm not signing that. I trust you, but you know.
But we keep analogizing to purchasing something, and we're not purchasing anything. We are opening the door to the right to use space that I have faith will be head and shoulders better than anything we've had before. And we're looking at and turning our back to it because of.
I don't want to turn my back to it. I want this contract to be properly written so I can sign it.
And what if Scott decides to sell everything and he doesn't want us in there anymore because.
One second, Mary Martha.
Then what?
Scott doesn't own it. The foundation owns it.
He has the option to buy it back. I'd like.
He has the option to
cleaned
buy
up.
it back, Tom, if we stop using it for culinary. Is that
Right.
correct?
If the college decides, I don't want to have culinary in there, I want to have basket weaving.
But it doesn't even say that in here. It just says
Well,
he
it's not
has
gonna
the
say-
right to buy it back. It doesn't say. for
He does
specific
have the
reason.
right to buy it back. And
No, I
that's,
know. Just
and that's,
clarifying.
and this is the same man who has the right to buy it back. It's the same man who's investing tremendous amount of dollars into it to try to give culinary a chance to survive and thrive. So, I mean, he's not a hostile character in this scenario.
Right.
He's putting his hand out there.
Right. But this is why I specifically asked last month, like, please give
Shelby.
me this data before.
Shelby, can
4
we
days
let
prior.
Mary Martha?
Yeah.
I don't want
Hey,
to.
Mary.
Mary Martha, go ahead.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
for your
I've been
patience.
waiting for over 5 minutes with my hand up. I'll take my.
Oh, it
little
is on the
phone
screen.
off.
I see that. Yeah.
Now, listen, Shelby, I understand what you're saying. The contract is weak, but please listen to Forrest. What he is saying is absolutely true. We are doing this for the endowment. They have received an awesome gift, and I don't want to see it go away.
I agree 100%. Give me a proper contract and I'll sign it tomorrow. Give it to me in 2 weeks at our work session. I'll vote for it then. give me something that I can sign and I'm happy to sign it. What I've been provided for is not acceptable.
Tom, the lease has been reviewed by our attorney, correct?
Yes.
And recommended that we move forward.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, Ray for the college has reviewed the contract, the lease, and he didn't have any significant questions on the lease as presented.
I just brought up significant things.
Well-
Is Ray a member of the foundation? I'm just curious. I
No,
don't know.
we have separate counsel because the fact that Ray is representing the college.
Mhm.
So we went to separate counsel because we need to have two different looks at this instead of having one attorney that's representing both organizations from time to time.
I know I'm appearing super hostile. I appreciate what you guys are doing. It's just, I would like something that doesn't have all the burden on me after we take possession. That's it. It's just.
Take possession
Jim,
as
do you
an
have
owner
any
or as a
thoughts or
leasing?
anything to add? I
Once we
can't
take
see the
possession,
screen,
we're
so I don't know
liable
if you got your
forever.
hand
As
up or
an
not.
owner or as a
Jim,
I'll
leasing?
say as a leasing. As soon as we say it's okay,
Is
and we
it-
step on the premises.
Jim,
done.
go ahead.
All repairs.
I've had the fortune or maybe the misfortune of probably looking at least 15 or 20 of these types of commercial contracts involving leases for businesses or just the use of space. And I read it the first time. I read it again day before yesterday. I don't see anything in there that I don't typically see in this type of contract. And the issue is that this gift's been given to the foundation. Yes, Scott can buy it back. It's not intended, it's not being used as it should. But the deal is that foundation owns it. They need our approval on a lease. They're not a foreigner to us. They want to see the program go forward and do well, as does Scott Redler. And I'm sure if there's modifications in the future that need to be done to this lease for any reason, we're not going to be fighting anybody like we normally would, or I normally would in a court of law on issues like this. This is something that can always be modified between the parties. It's put together as the typical lease is. I mean, I see where you're coming from, Shelby. A lot of those things are very, to some people, they're offensive. To some people, they're protective, depending on which side of the fence you're on with the lease agreement. But they're typical, they're standard. That's just the way these things are drafted. I don't see anything that I say, oh, there's just no way in heck would I ever agree to this lease. It's the way it's set up. It has the protections for the foundation and for Scott. It has protections for us as well, and it gives us a benefit to move forward with it. But I'm not offended by the contract.
Where
all the time.
Jim, this is Shelby. Please point out the benefit. Please point out the benefit for the college in here that protects us.
Benefit for the college is that we're being provided at a very reasonable cost, a really brand new, nice facility to advance our program. That's the benefit we got. Instead of
Right. But
going
you
out
said it
and trying to-
protected us.
You want me to finish, Shelby, or you want to keep interrupting me? You tell me which way you want to go. Because if you want to keep interrupting me, I'm just going to stop. Real simple. I try to follow Robert's Rules of Orders, did before. You're supposed to let me speak. I was asked, I have the floor, and then you can respond, although you're probably taking up more time than Robert's Rules usually allow as you go around the room and let everybody have their 10 minutes and 5 minutes of rebuttal. Now, do you want me to finish answering your question?
Yes.
Okay, that's the benefit that we get, is that we don't have to go out and try to find someplace. You're going to enter into a real similar type of lease agreement where you got to take care of all the repairs. You got to take care of everything that goes wrong. You got to have liability insurance on it. This is typical. I mean, I've owned businesses, I've sold, I've rented, I've leased out these kinds of facilities before, restaurants, bars, you name it. This is very typical. It's what you get. And this is very typical of that. If I just leased a bar and I look at the language in that, and that's just the way it is. It's typical of what I see. If the air condition goes under, well, I got to fix the air condition. It's my responsibility. If storm comes through and tears up the roof, it's my responsibility. I got to have insurance on it. This is typical of what you see. The benefit we're getting is this is a very nice brand new facility that someone's earmarked for us. It's going to be constructed properly. We have a friendly landlord who's going to work with us if anything comes up. I just don't, that's the benefit that we get from it. We don't have to go search. We don't have to go looking for anything. And they're offering it to us at a very reasonable cost. That's the benefit that we have.
I don't
I
see
under-
big
I-
downside to it.
I understand the benefit. You said we also have protections. I would like a clarification on what protections we have in this lease agreement.
The standard protections that you get in these types of agreements as a lessor, which aren't a lot, but there are protections in there. If they breach the contract, you can in a court of law, you can go ahead and say, hey, you guys are in breach of the contract, and you can rescind the contract. There's lots of things you can do. Those protections are built in by the law. They may not specifically be laid out in a sentence that you would like to see, but there are protections. There's protections for both sides.
Then prove it to me where our protections are. You have said nothing that provides us any protection.
Listen, you want my legal opinion? Go ahead and hire me and I'll give it to you. But I'm not going to sit here and take that position. We have legal counsel. The foundation does. Ray's looked at it. Those are the protections that are built into the lease. They're standard protections. I'm not going to sit here and go through like you just did and waste the board's time sentence by sentence and say, is this offensive? Is this legal? How do we get out of this? I'm not going to go through all that. Can I? Yes. But I'm not going to waste everybody's time. The big question is do you want to enter into a lease agreement or not under these terms and conditions? If you don't, vote no. Real simple.
I mean, to me,
Thank you, Jim.
To me, the protection is we've got a 10-year lease of brand new commercial space. Do we know what the approximate square footage is?
65,000
square
something.
feet. Okay.
In there.
On US 54
All right.
for less than $2,400 a month guaranteed for 10 years.
Right.
You show me any.
No,
commercial
that's
property,
amazing.
Well, that's the protection. That's what we're getting out of this deal. It is almost a gift.
I get that,
It
but
is a
we're also
gift.
taking on liability. It just, there's no verbiage in here that has the landlord taking care of their own building.
You know, the problem is, if I can add my 2
Yep,
cents.
Julie,
I
go
won't
ahead.
Take 10 minutes. I won't, I promise. But my 2 cents is, we're not in the academic world, okay? We come from the business world. This is never going to be something I would sign in the business world. However, on the other side, I want it to be known publicly that I adore the culinary program, the hospitality program, and I want them to grow. And I think that we can. I think a new facility will help us do that. However, because of the lease and what it says, I can't vote for it, but neither can I vote against it. And I hope that everyone understands that. And you don't need my vote. You've got 4 others. You don't need mine. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm certainly, I cannot wait to break down on this. I've told other people, hey, you know what? We've got this, we got that, we got a new culinary building going up, we got the Promise program. I mean, believe it or not, people, I'm out there promoting this college all the time. So just because I come to a meeting and say, hey, I don't like one program or another, to be confused about what reality is and what the rules are for that program. I want us to stick to the same thing. Doesn't mean I don't care about this college. So that would be, I agree with Shelby and his point. I don't think this lease agreement is nothing I would ever sign. If it were any question as to how many votes that you would get, you know, that might be different, but you don't need my vote. I just wanted to go on record. I do want the program. I'm so appreciative of Mr. Redler and the donor of the land in this, and I do believe it's an excellent opportunity, but I'm not used to seeing leases like this either. So when you give me one, I'm going to have some red flags, and I don't know how am I supposed to apologize for that? Trustee means just that. If the resources are our responsibility to at least oversee, then this lease agreement is a part of that. And as a trustee, I can't condone approval of a lease with this limited information. But thanks for letting me have my time. See, I didn't even take 5 minutes, did I?
Thank you for your comments, Julie. I think everybody's had their positions known. I would go ahead and call the roll.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
Trustee Law,
Yes.
Trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
Trustee Lechtenberg,
Yes.
Trustee Winslow,
Abstain on the basis of an incomplete lease agreement as I see it.
Trustee Howell,
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Nope.
Motion passed to approve the lease agreement for the culinary building. I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. And we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Don't we have a discussion of some of those?
Not
items?
on the consent agenda, no.
Trustee Good,
Yes.
trustee Law,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Lexford,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
No.
trustee Howell,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
I would say no.
The motion passes 5-2. And supplemental information.
Well, you have the key performance indicators, the monthly statement, revenues and expenditures. I would call your attention to the thank you notes. A lot of those came from 4-H kids. We give each year scholarship certificates to students that are 4-H students that win different showmanship and classes and stuff. So 4-H kids, and those scholarships are good. So they actually come to Butler. We hold on to those and we keep that list. And so even though some of these students may be, 6th graders or 7th graders, that scholarship is good when they eventually come to Butler. So those are kind of fun to see. Those thank you notes are nice. I would call your attention to the board calendar and let you know it's actually not, oh no, I think it is on here. Local music concert is this Friday night and Saturday, Friday, October 15th at 7:30, Saturday, the 16th at 2 or 7:30 in the evening. Take advantage of that. Phenomenal opportunity, talented students. You can't walk in and get tickets, they sell out. So get a hold of the box office or let my office know if you're interested in tickets and we'll reserve some for you. Where's it being held at? It's in the theater, really, right across the parking lot. But it's an amazing opportunity to see our talented students. We also, of course, have football and soccer and volleyball coming up. Soccer team, volleyball team is knocking off opponents.
They're now ranked 5th.
in the nation,
That
right?
game against Barton has moved to 6 p.m. for anybody
On
that
Saturday.
cares. Yeah.
Okay. So you can do local music in the afternoon and you can do volleyball in the evening. And then the PTK induction is on your calendar for October 24th at 2 p.m. That's our 2-year scholastic honorary, Phi Beta Kappa. It's an international scholastic honorary. It's the induction. I've been talking the whole time and haven't had my microphone on. Sorry about that. Good thing I have a loud
I
voice.
can hear you just fine.
I know you can. That's my mom voice. I'm sorry.
Cannot.
I'm sorry. I'm not starting over.
No, it's fine.
We could
And,
hear you.
Oh, can you?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's my
And you're
mom
clear in
voice.
Texas. Hey.
And so I think Lance is scheduled to do the welcome. We usually have the board chair do the welcome for the PTK induction, but you're all invited to that. It'll be in the Clifford Stone Room, and it's a nice event. It'll be done within an hour by the time they do the induction and have cake and punch and stuff. So, and then the only other thing is, deciding whether we want to do a work session this month on the 25th. That's on the calendar too. We don't necessarily have to decide that tonight, but we'll see if we've got information that we need to share. We kind of talked tonight about spending a little bit of time after the regular meeting going through the strategic plan and my goals. And so I would, if we want to spend a little bit of time tonight doing that, we can do that. If we want to push it off until the regular work session at the end of the month, we can do that as well. So
My
You guys have a
firstborn
preference
and
on the-
ninth kids' birthdays are both that day.
on the 25th?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
So,
well, you probably
I
need to be
probably
at a
won't show
birthday
up,
party,
yeah.
don't you?
yeah, so we got the bookends.
I just do not do it tonight, but we can do whatever we need to do.
You what? Your preference is not to do it tonight?
That's my preference, but I'm just
Well,
one person.
I could stay. I mean, how?
Oh,
long
I'm
is it
not gonna
take
run
to go
away.
to
It's
the-
only 2 hours at least. I'm just teasing.
Turn off the air conditioner.
What's the preference of everyone as far as a work session? I'm pretty indifferent tonight.
Tonight. That would be my preference.
That would mean no work session at the end of the month.
None on the
Potentially.
25th unless something comes up in between that
That'd
we
be
need.
nice for a change.
So,
And I
okay.
have a commitment on the 25th. So
Okay.
I'd have to be zoomed anyway.
You
or
got
recorded.
till 7 o'clock.
Let's try to get it done tonight then, but I would
Okay.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Look at
Can we call the
that.
roll?
I like the way that worked.
You didn't even get to finish the sentence.
No.
Heather, if we could, there we go.
For that magic
Trustee
A
Good?
word.
Yes.
Trustee Law,
Yes.
trustee Rhodes,
Yes.
trustee Lechtenberg,
Yes.
trustee Winslow,
Yes.
trustee Howell,
Yes.
trustee Smith.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned. Why don't we take a
Take a
quick
break.
5